What I'm about to present to you is a Galileo clock from the 1600s. What a beautiful ride it was up here in western North Carolina to Mount Pisgah Campground. It's run by the National Park Service. I've been here once before and I really like this place. It's peaceful. It's filled with nature. They have these cool trees that kind of take weird curves, and it's very well organized. There's lots of nature. It's up in the mountains. It's a little compact, but I think we're going to be able to make it work. With the tick-tock sound, I don't want to bother the neighbors because the neighbors are fairly close, maybe 50, 60 feet apart. 3 o'clock was the check-in time, so I'm probably not going to cook today. We'll need the time to set everything up after we move in. What I'm trying to do here is set my tripod up. I take these short 1/2-inch EMT pipes. I'll put the 5-inch loop around all 3 of them, and I'll find the middle pole. I think this will hold, isn't it called 550 paracord? I think that means it'll hold 550 pounds. Although I do see some wear and tear on this, but we'll see how it goes. I'm just going to twist this middle pole to create some tension, and that will also shorten the loop because I'm twisting it around in the middle, and it's getting shorter and tighter. I think there is like a stainless steel ring I could get to hold a tripod. It looks like it would be strong enough, but I didn't want to spend the 15 bucks or whatever it was. So I'm trying to cheap out. Let's see if this will work. It seemed to work at home. So that's pretty tight there. I think that's good enough. So that's the top of the tripod. Gusto ko ng tubig. I thought what I'd do this time is take some of your advice in the comments to use a series of pulleys. So here's a double pulley and another double pulley. One is going to be on top of the tripod over there, and the bucket of water will be attached to this one. I had to make this thing because I found that the two pulleys were twisting and the rope was getting tangled up. So this long piece here is going to be along the bottom leg, or the far leg in the back there, just to keep it straight. So that end of the rope is tied around the rod that I'm going to wind. And this end goes up to a pulley on this tripod. It goes through this left pulley, and I'm gonna have to tie that red out of the way. But it goes through that, down to the bottom pulley. It comes down here around this one on the left, and then it goes up through the one on the right, and then it goes down through the one on the right here, and on the back it's just tied to a piece of wooden dowel that I had left over. And then there's a carabiner for the water. So this should give us way more time before we have to rewind, but the problem potentially is that I'm going to need a lot of weight. So this tripod, I'm a little concerned about if it's going to hold up or not. I've got some blueberries here. I picked up some blueberries and added some granola. That'll be my dinner tonight. I usually only eat one main meal a day and then supplement with snacks here and there. But a few people will stop by to ask me what this was, so there's some interest here, and we'll see what tomorrow brings. Hopefully we're ready to roll tomorrow and get that chicken going. Hopefully it won't take 6 hours like last time. But anyway, it's kind of a noisy place here on Memorial Day weekend. So hopefully I can fall asleep and get up early and start a fire and get the day going. So just wanted to say goodnight. See ya in the morning. I keep hearing about people using dryer vent stuff to light a fire, so we're gonna try that. For breakfast today, I'll have my usual coffee, but I also picked up, I had this before, but it was almond. This is a hazelnut croissant. Hopefully it won't melt that chocolate. That's a major concern. There we go. Let that steep for a while. Then I'll pour in the Copper Cow Coffee Latte Creamer and sip it through the Jogo straw, which has a pretty cool filter at the end. Look at that. So now I'll just add the creamer. Goes in thick, but it softens up with the heat. Finally, breakfast. Lord, thank you for this food. Perfect. Let's see how this is. Chocolate's melting everywhere. Tasty. I'm going to try and remove a little bit of this stain, deck stain that I used. This time I came prepared to handle the chicken with these gloves. That was smart. It's been marinating for 3 days in my wife's delicious marinade, which I'll put in the description. Oh, it's filled with it. All right. We're gonna save that and baste the chicken later. We're gonna slide that way down. Slice through that apple. Eat that later. I'm gonna make carrots, caramelized carrots today. But I think I can spare a few to stuff the chicken. And then of course, instead of buying basil and rosemary, I found a combo: parsley, rosemary, and thyme. And one of you, I don't have too many female subscribers, but only about 5%. But one of you suggested that I wash these because they're treated with chemicals in the fields and in transportation. So I'm gonna heed your advice. You know, it's always the women who care about health. None of you guys suggested that. So I'm just gonna rinse these vegetables, these herbs in this cup of water. There. And I'll just stick them here. And we have a cutting board in the shape of South Carolina, ready to stuff the chicken. Just kidding. That's working out pretty well. Haven't lost too much in the fire. I'm going to set this thing in motion, or at least try to. I have a feeling that there's not going to be enough power, enough force to rotate the heavy part of the chicken over the rod. I didn't think about that when I bought this chicken. I should have gotten a much smaller one. This trip is full of little problems. Another problem I'm having is that because this is wood and I had to shave it to fit through the bearing, the wheel doesn't fit on there nicely. I had to wrap some electrical tape, but the wheel keeps coming off. Not sure what to do about that other than putting the galvanized pipe back on. Galileo was an Italian astronomer, physicist, engineer, born in Pisa, Italy in 1564. And in 1637, when he was old and couldn't see anymore, he described a pendulum escapement for a clock. This was the first, as far as I know, and as far as I learned from Wikipedia, this was the first pendulum clock ever invented. Now, his son, Vincenzo, went on to try and make a prototype, but they both died before it could be completed. Fortunately, they left some diagrams, and this, what I'm about to present to you, is a Galileo clock from the 1600s. The way this works is that force is generated to turn this wheel from that bucket of water suspended on that tripod. So as the water drops, it pulls on the rope through a pulley system and wraps around the axis pole in the center of this wheel on the back. I'll show that to you in a minute. So that force is driving this wheel. And in order for it not to just completely spin out of control really quick, we have this arm here that's stopping the force periodically. So this arm comes down on, catches on a tooth, and then over here, this is the pendulum part, which Galileo invented. And these pegs provide some force to the pendulum to rock it back and forth. And this arm lifts up on that to go over the tooth. Now I added these circles here because it needed a little bit more weight here, and I thought it would need about double the amount of weight over here, but actually it needed quite a few ounces more. I don't know, about 10 or 12 ounces more. So I got these fishing weights that I can add or subtract in 1 ounce increments. So this has to be kind of balanced. This was a tricky part right here. Before the rope gets to the pipe that's connected to this wheel, it wraps around that bicycle wheel that's turning the spit. I originally tried using a piece of wood, but the wood was smaller in diameter and the wheel kept coming off. So I'm back to the galvanized steel. I know that that's not very good for my health. I prefer to use wood if I can. I'm trying to rake the coals under the chicken as they're created by the fire. So here you can see on the axis of the wheel, the rope is wrapped around. And then it goes through the bicycle wheel and then up the tripod to the pulley. The bucket of water is dropping, and that's making this rope unwind, which is turning the wheel. Now this is rewinding a lot more often than I wanted, but I don't have a decent tree here I can suspend it from, so this is how I rewind it. I stick something in between these two arms so the wheel is free to turn. And I can rewind it a little bit more, get as much as we possibly can from it. I'll just hold these arms. Maybe I won't. This cloth comes in handy here. I was doing this before and I knocked 2 teeth off. They were glued on with Gorilla Glue, but they popped off, so I wrapped them with electrical tape temporarily. So you kind of have to be careful when rewinding so that those arms don't interfere. There's something about the ticking of time that makes me think of the past, the present, and the future, because there's a past tick, there's a present tick, and we can anticipate a future tick. So life is like a ticking clock. And eventually, when the bucket comes down, hits the ground, eventually, when we get old enough, or possibly before then, the old ticker stops. So then what? Well, I thought of a few different possibilities. Some people have wishful thinking. Some people think that whatever good hopes and wishes they have, that they will come true. That puts a lot of confidence in oneself, more confidence in oneself than I have, and many of you, I'm sure, who have a sense of humility. So there's that, wishful thinking. Then there are people who follow a religion or a cult or some influential people, whatever they say. I was born into this religion, it must be true, it's all I know, so I'm going to trust it. And then thirdly, there's biblical revelation, which says that I'm a sinner, you're a sinner, we're all sinners, we're not perfect. But the good thing is that Jesus, the Son of God, came and paid the penalty for our sins. So all we have to do is believe that that revelation, that written history, is true, and then accept the gift of eternal life. So that's what a ticking clock reminds me of, the temporality of this life. We can't rewind our lives and start over like we can with a clock. The most important thing to think about and consider in life, if we can escape all the distractions, as the philosopher Pascal from French, he was a French philosopher, Pascal, said that we fill our lives with distractions so we don't have to think about the future. But the ticking, the stopping of ticking is coming. So that's something to think about. About time to rewind it. It lasts about 8 minutes is all. Would have been nice if I had a tree there to suspend a pulley. This is the best I can do in this situation, so unless some of you people who are smarter than me can figure it out and give me some tips, I'll bring the bucket up about halfway. Then I'll wrap the rope around the bicycle wheel. About 150, 149 it says, so we need to get it up to 165. These are the aluminum strips that I glued onto the teeth here. It's a bit noisy, and I discovered if I wrap electrical tape to them, they're a lot more quiet. So I don't have much electrical tape left, but that might be a good way to make it a little more quiet. It's pretty noisy. Well, I forgot to put the potato on. The chicken is coming along. It's close to being done. It's a little bit charred on one side. That's the heavy side that kind of stays dropped when I'm doing stuff to make adjustments. So that cooked a little bit more than the rest. And I quieted this a little bit by placing a piece of electrical tape on this arm here. Just that one tooth, not on all these teeth. And that seemed to quiet it a little bit. All right, so since I cannot close this grid that came with the campsite because of the rotisserie spit, I'm going to use these re-rods iron re-rods. I'm gonna get the pan to cook the carrots. These are gonna be caramelized or caramelized, however you want to say it, carrots. I actually messed up already by mixing the oil with the other ingredients. I wasn't supposed to do that. So I'm going to start with a little butter, and that's heating up already. Time to wind the spit up again. I definitely need to find a better way to make this work without rewinding it so often. We're very close to temperature. I want to make sure it's done. There's nothing worse than taking it off the spit and finding pink meat inside. This pan is pretty handy. It's non-stick. Pretty lightweight. It's great for camping, off-grid, hiking, doing some dispersed camping. Just the right size for one person. All right, it's been a few minutes. I'm gonna pour the rest of this in there, olive oil and honey. I like to keep my knife clean without food on it so it doesn't attract bears. It says 156. I'm looking for 165. Ooh, 152. I am raking the coals under it, but I know it's on the edge because of the hole in the spit. Just the way it was positioned, I didn't put multiple holes, unfortunately. Lesson learned. I did add butter, so it's a little different than the recipe. It'll be my own recipe with my own little tweaks. Just like it's my own escapement with my own little tweaks, or should I say multiple tweaks. I don't know if tweaks is the word or if mistakes and compensation is a better way to put it. I don't think it's 3 o'clock still. It looks more like 7:30 maybe. And I'm pretty tired. I was supposed to go home today, so I have to notify my wife if I'm gonna stay another night. Haven't decided yet. But I'm ready to wrap this up, and if I'm gonna stay, I'll go try and find a Wi-Fi signal somewhere. If not, then I'll pack it up and head home. Overall, this has been a complicated trip, and we'll see how the food tastes. Ta-da! Stick that back in there. And here it is. Looks much better upside down than the other way, but hopefully it'll taste good. They look pretty done to me, almost like French fries. All right, let's slice into it now. Well, that looks pretty good. Whoa, feels very tender. Just breaks apart. Oh yeah. Oh, that's very well done. I think I cooked it too long. Whoa. Come look at this. Well, actually, I could have cooked that a lot less. I got to figure out where you stick the thermometer. That looks tender. I don't see any pink whatsoever. So, based on the situation, because of the location of the holes in the spit, I couldn't get the chicken exactly where I wanted it, but I stuck with it, and it seems like at least the chicken, I haven't tasted it yet, but it looks like that worked out pretty well. Now the potato, I'm pretty sure I messed up. Yeah, this looks like, whoa. I'd say that's a bit overdone. Wouldn't you? Well, yeah. I don't know if I could salvage any of that, actually. I should have taken it off when it felt a little soft. So I give the potato an F, a score of F. That was a total failure. So I'm not even gonna bother with that mess right now. I'll have to clean the table pretty well. No chicken meal is complete without some cranberry sauce. So let's get the can open. There. Heavenly Father, thank you for this food. All right, it's time to eat. I had several people come over. They were fascinated. Oh, it worked!
That's awesome!
I'm about to try it.
Nice! Get a show and tell.
All right. So, yeah, I had several people stop by and take a look at what I was doing. They were intrigued. So I invited them over, men, usually men with their girlfriends or their wives. And I was happy to show them. So I'm hoping that you like it, and I hope that I like the chicken. Let's give it a try. Yep. Very good. Excellent. And the carrots, a little overcooked. If it's black, that's a warning sign. The potatoes, what's left of them isn't too bad. The chicken is good though. Not as good as with the swinging pendulum escapement for some reason. Maybe it was, well, it was a thinner chicken. This is a Purdue. The other one was some kind of special fed chicken that was a lot slimmer. So I think that has something to do with cooking on a spit. If it's a really fat chicken, it's hard to cook it all the way through and not burn the breast of it. But anyway, you live and learn, and trying to stay on a budget here. Which reminds me, by the way, I do have a membership set up if you're interested in helping me defray some of these costs. If you like these videos, I have an interesting one coming up that I'm going to work on with my dad, Lord willing. He's going to fly out, and we're going to work on a project together that goes way back to the time of Christ, actually. And it's a very interesting way to cook chicken. So like and subscribe and follow and all that stuff if you want to see more. So we have one plate left, and for dessert I'm having brownies that my wife made from her very special recipe. It is something that I think should remain guarded, so I'm going to actually list it for my members. If you want to be a member of my channel and help support these chicken spit adventures, join. I have a few different tiers, and then you can have the recipe for the brownies and make them yourself, or have your better half make them for you, which is even a better idea. The video doesn't do it justice, but they have a nice cake-like moist brownie part with a fudge topping, and the fudge is like at least 1/8 of an inch thick, and it tastes really good. Delicious. I just checked the time. It's about 8:15 at night. Got about a 2-hour drive. Well, I did decide to leave, and it took 40 minutes to get a cell signal. So that's about it for the Galileo Chicken Rotisserie. Hope you enjoyed it, and as Galileo would say, arrivederci.